Hello and welcome to this edition of the PolicyBazaar show here on Republic TV. Today we are going to talk about COVID-19 and health insurance. Joining me is Amit Chhabra, who heads the health insurance business at PolicyBazaar.com. Thanks very much, Amit. Good talking to you. These are very, very difficult times. My first question to you, something we've been saying over the years, please get yourself a good health insurance. Do you feel that given this threat, given this fear that is looming over all of us, people have started at least thinking or trying to make themselves aware about the need for health insurance?
Absolutely, Vivek. See, health insurance is one of those things that people always think about. It's one of those things which always is on the list for everybody to buy, but people end up procrastinating quite a bit, and there's a very simple reason for that. The simple reason is there's no urgency or an expiry date to it. So just to give you a simple perspective, in car insurance there is an expiry date that there is, so if your previous car policy expires and you don't have a new policy, then there's a big challan or a ticket waiting for you. In health insurance, that urgency is not there, and I think that is one of the reasons why India remains one of the most under-penetrated health insurance markets. That said, what has happened is, with so much talk and so much fear around COVID, the current COVID situation in India, what people are now starting to realize is that health insurance is very, very critical and they must have it. And that's not just, having health insurance. I think it's also about having adequate health insurance. So we are in fact seeing a lot of customers coming in asking about health insurance, asking if COVID is covered in health insurance or not. There is definitely, this definitely sort of, creates that bit of an urgency which earlier wasn't ever there. So again, and just to give you a perspective, the penetration levels in India for health insurance will be far more lower than any of the developed economies. What that means is, as an economy and on a common man in India, it actually puts a lot of burden on them in case there is a medical situation that comes up. So again, just to give you a perspective, more than 60% in fact, of all the healthcare expenses that happen in India today happen out of pocket. What that means is there are so many people who are actually ending up spending all of their lifelong savings on healthcare, which is a pity, to be honest, for a country like India, where still people don't have huge savings amounts. So from that perspective, I think having health insurance is very, very critical. I think people are increasingly realizing this more and more in the current COVID situation, and I think as you go on, as you move forward, I think the penetration situation in India will become far more better than where we are right now.
Since you are the biggest online distributor of insurance in this country, are you seeing an actual increase in sales of health insurance policies, or are people at this point only exploring and trying to find out more?
So it's a combination of both, to be honest. So what we're seeing is a definite jump in inquiries, and we're seeing almost a 50-60% jump in inquiries than what we usually get at this time of the year. April is generally, a slightly lean month because the tax season just gets over. So there is almost a 50% jump on what was expected in terms of inquiries. Now, from a purchase behavior, what's happening is we're seeing almost a 30% jump in purchases as well. But that said, there are a lot of customers who are basically saying that, we don't have money right now, or I want to protect my money, because obviously the times further ahead are uncertain, in terms of there are job cuts happening, pay cuts happening, businesses are not earning right now, a lot of businesses are not earning right now. So there is that bit of uncertainty, but I think that is where customers need to understand, this is very, very important now, that while, yes, completely is right that, you don't want to spend unnecessarily right now because future is uncertain. That said, health insurance is actually one of those things which protects your uncertainty for the future, right? So customers need to understand what happens if, they contract COVID, right, which is spreading in India now at a very large scale. And apart from that, whatever heart situation comes up or a cancer situation comes up for a customer, so that may just end up eating into all your lifelong savings. So what customers need to understand is that, health insurance is one of those things which protects you from uncertainty in the future, from a financial uncertainty. So what you may even look to do is, buy a health plan which is probably not your desired sum insured, if you don't have money. So ideally, a customer should buy a full-fledged health insurance plan and buy the maximum sum insured as they can afford. However, in case you're not able to do that and you want to save your money or conserve your money because of limited financials right now, you might want to even look to buy a smaller health insurance cover right now, and whenever your finances allow, upgrade that cover into a larger cover. But I think very important to get a basic health insurance coverage right now, given the times are so uncertain.
There are a lot of COVID-specific policies, that are being launched. When one looks at them, the sum assured seems rather small. I mean, though the ticket size is also a few hundred, but the cover is really small. And from what you suggested earlier in terms of what the evidence right now we are seeing that it's ranging from 4 to 12 lakh. Do you really feel people should go out there and buy these small ticket size COVID specific policies, especially since the regular health insurance cover that you buy anyway covers COVID? Are you not better off looking at a full-fledged comprehensive health insurance policy rather than going for this piecemeal small ticket size COVID specific policies?
Yeah, absolutely agree, Vivek. So, see, these two policies actually serve different purposes, and I'll just explain what I mean by that. See, there are two components to any hospitalization or any treatment that happens. One is the medical cost of treatment, which is hospitalization and pre and post hospitalization costs. There, I think very completely aligned with you what you're saying, that having a comprehensive and an adequate health insurance cover is what you need the most, because any COVID related claim will not get solved by a sum insured of 50,000 or lakh rupees. It will need at least 10 lakh rupees per person, come what may. In fact, customers ideally should look to buy a cover which is as high as 1 crore rupees, and this is now very cheaply available. So in fact, for just to give you a simple example, for a customer who's say 30-year-old and for a husband, wife and say a 2-year-old child with them, a cover of 1 crore rupees would cost as low as about 14,000 rupees. So for them, that spending that 14,000 rupees actually means that you're covered for pretty much everything, be it COVID, be it cancer, be it heart related, be it anything, because 1 crore is a very large and sufficient amount. So from a hospitalization expenses perspective, having a comprehensive health insurance policy with a high sum insured is absolutely critical. That said, I think the other aspect of any medical hospitalization is the loss of income. And by loss of income, I basically mean that if somebody ends up contracting COVID, what may happen is that you will not be able to work for some time, and you will be losing your income for that period of time. Now, what happens in this case is, even if the hospitalization costs are covered, there is a lifestyle that you live, and there is a loss of income which may end up impacting your family as well, because they need that income on a regular basis. That is where some of these fixed benefit policies come into the picture, where they are able to offer a lump sum amount to the customer whenever a COVID is detected, a COVID case is detected. Now that lump sum amount is not to be used for hospitalization expenses, because that will anyways get covered by your health insurance policy. That is more of a loss of an income cover because you contracted COVID. So that is the purpose which a typical fixed benefit policy serves. However, a challenge here is, and as you rightly said, that the sum insured that these policies are offering is really low right now. It's not very high sum insured, and that is a challenge for a lot of customers. The reason for that being, if the sum insured is that low, it becomes difficult. So for example, there are policies today with sum insured of 50,000 rupees. Now 50,000 actually may not be enough for a COVID patient as such. So ideally, these policies should have a sum insured of say 5 lakhs and more. The challenge with that also is that COVID is a very rapidly evolving situation in India right now, right? So we are seeing cases increase. We don't know how much it will go to, how difficult will it get to control COVID in India. So insurance companies are also treading a bit carefully on this one. So that's why the sum insured offered is on the lower side right now. So yeah, as you said, in short, I think important for customers to have a comprehensive health insurance cover first, because that is what is going to cover for the large chunk of expenses, which is the medical treatment expenses for you.
Time for a short break here on the Policy Bazaar show. When we come back, we continue our conversation with Amit Chabra on COVID-19 and health insurance. Keep watching. Welcome back. You're watching the Policy Bazaar show. I'm in conversation with Amit Chabra of PolicyBazaar.com, and we're discussing health insurance and COVID-19. Amit, since the whole country is in lockdown, how are insurance companies, how are companies like you being able to provide a seamless experience in terms of the digital route for a consumer to get onboarded? One of the areas where the physicality used to come in was in the medical checkup that one had to do, or the medical testing that used to happen before issuing of a policy. Is that something a solution has been found to? Are you being able to do it online or through a medical check? What are the developments on that front? Can I today go completely online and seamlessly get myself insured?
Yes, Vivek. So you absolutely can get all of this done digitally itself. So as you said, there's actually a spectrum of ways an underwriting can happen. So the first way is where a treatment happens through a physical medical checkup, where you go to a diagnostic center or a hospital and get yourself treated over there. That is the first type of check that can happen. The other one is where, and it's called a tele underwriting, where essentially what happens is, after you buy a policy, there is a qualified doctor, underwriter calling you from the insurance company. They would ask you a basic set of questions, and these questions are not complicated medical questions. These will be very simple questions to answer. So things like what tablets are you having on a daily basis? What is the dosage of that tablet? So how many mgs of tablets are you having? Have you had any surgery in the past? Have you had any hospitalization in the past? So very basic questions that the insurance companies ask, and based on that, they're able to identify if you have any illness or not and the severity of that illness, and based on that, they issue you a policy. So that's the second step. What also is happening now is, in a lot of cases, instead of a telecall, a video call is happening with the customer. The intent is, it's easier when you are on a video. It's just easier to ask questions and understand from the customer. Also, if there are any existing medical reports that a customer has, so if, for example, somebody has had a prior hospitalization and they're able to share the reports and the discharge summary of the previous hospitalization, then also based on that, a policy is issued. The other one, which is evolving even more now, is called digital underwriting, which essentially means that the entire underwriting rule engine of an insurance company, which basically means the rule sets based on which any insurance company decides to issue a policy or not, all of these are actually built online itself for the customer. So if a customer today comes on Policy Bazaar, they can actually declare if I have diabetes or not, what is the level of diabetes I have, what tablets do I take, and based on that, there is an instant decision that comes for the customer. So what's happening is basically there's no delay happening because of a medical checkup not happening. There are now multiple options for the customer. There is a tele underwriting, there is a video underwriting, and then there is an online underwriting itself. All these three actually ensure that a customer gets an instant policy. So it actually takes about a day only, which in a normal scenario where a physical medical was to happen would take 3 to 4 days, because it's a process to go to a diagnostic center, then those reports come out in a day, and then those reports are sent to the insurance company, validated, and then a policy is issued. What's happened is insurance companies have rapidly adapted to the new scenario, and they have come up with very, very simplistic processes for customers to buy health insurance. So it's become very, very simple now, in fact, to get a health insurance policy. From the safety of your home, from the comfort of your home, you can actually, just by staying online, you can buy a health insurance policy which will cover you for any pre-existing illnesses like diabetes, hypertension, and cover you for COVID as well.
Time now to move to our Mythbuster segment, and the myth that we are seeking to bust today is, I have a corporate plan, I don't have to buy a health insurance plan right now, I can buy later when I retire. Amit, you partly answered this question. How is it so critical not to delay having your own policy, because you are going to need it actually post-retirement? That's when your health costs are going to go up. So you're better off actually making sure you have a policy right now rather than waiting for later.
Yes, in fact, Vivek, this is a myth that a lot of people have, and it's not because of lack of money or any other reason. It's just It's just a comfort that they have with their current employer's policy. The problem with the employer policy, as I've already said, is, one, you may change your employers and the new employer may not have a great policy, so you may actually be left high and dry there. The second problem is what happens in case you leave the job and you start working on your own, you become an entrepreneur. Then again, it becomes difficult because then you would be without any health insurance coverage. The third challenge is typically employer provided health insurance covers are not enough. So the typical sum insured is 3 lakhs to, or rather 2 lakhs to 5 lakh rupees, which basically means that your coverage is limited to 5 lakh rupees, and beyond that you are pretty much on your own again, which is a worrisome thing, because look at the kind of expenses that today treatment for corona costs, or say a cancer or a heart ailment costs. So from that perspective, very, very important to have adequate coverage now. And I think the fourth most important thing is, you may think that you can get a policy later on, say when you retire at around say 50, 55 years or 60 years of age. The problem is what happens if you're already suffering from a disease at that moment. It will actually become very difficult to get a policy, or even if you can get a policy, either it will be very expensive, or what might actually end up happening is that policy may have a lot of restrictions. So just to give you a perspective, typical policies that senior citizens get, which is say age above 60 years, have a co-payment in them, which basically means that every claim, 20% of the claim amount has to be paid by the customer. So that is the kind of restriction that comes in when you buy a policy at a senior age. So from that perspective, I think very, very important for a customer to understand that they need an adequate health insurance cover now. They don't have to wait to get it at a later age, or or not buy it because you have a corporate cover. I think it's, and the kind of spend that needs is probably about 1,000 rupees a month or 500 rupees a month. So it's not a very large spend as well, which should be procrastinated. Customers should look to buy a health insurance policy to complement the corporate health cover that they already have.
And Amit, have the claim settlement process been smooth? Because we are all in lockdown. Are less questions being asked? Are insurance companies being more progressive in being able to cushion the impact already that people are bracing for, and going ahead and doing the claim settlement smoothly for consumers?
Yes, in fact, I think that is where again we must commend IRDAI and the insurance companies. I think they are doing a fabulous job over there. So again, as I said, right, IRDAI had come out with a notification which basically said that all COVID-related claims have to be treated on very high priority by insurance companies. So they cannot be delayed. They have to be expedited and be settled as soon as possible, because it is an emergency situation throughout India. The other thing which the regulator also specified was, in case an insurance company has to investigate or reject a claim where COVID is involved, it cannot be easily done. So every such claim has to actually have to go through the claim inspection committee of the insurance company. So there is an internal committee within every insurance company which scrutinizes every claim. And this consists of very senior officers from an insurance company. So every such claim which has to be rejected has to go through this specific committee before it gets rejected. So the point is basically that that all the insurance companies and the regulator are sensitizing that COVID is very, very critical, and from an insurance perspective, all claims have to be settled as soon as possible and with minimal discomfort to the customer. So that is being taken care of. And in fact, even till now, we haven't really heard about any discomfort to any customer when it comes to a COVID related claim. In fact, as PolicyBazaar, we have also set up a COVID helpline for health insurance related claims. And from all that we have heard so far, it's been a fairly smooth ride for the customer whenever it comes to getting a claim for COVID.
All right, time now to take a viewer query. Rahul has written in to us. He's from New Delhi. He says, I have a family floater plan for my wife and my 2 kids. What is the right sum insured that I should buy, and should I buy any additional add-ons?
What sum insured one buys is actually the most critical question when it comes to buying health insurance. And there are a few things that one needs to consider before you decide what you buy. First is what kind of city you are living in. So in Rahul's case, he's living in Delhi, which is a fairly expensive city when it comes to medical treatments. And you have to look at the family combination, and this is a family that we're talking about here. So from that perspective, the cover should at least be 10 lakh rupees per person. So that is the basic thumb rule that one must have. Whenever you buy a health insurance policy, specifically in a tier 1 city, you should at least have 10 lakh rupees per person coverage, which basically means, if let's say there is a family of 3, then one should at least look to buy a 30 lakh rupees cover. Now, what's also happened, fortunately, is there's a lot of innovation that has happened in the last 2 years, and as a result, high sum insured products have become very, very cheap. So as I was saying earlier, a product of about a 1 crore sum insured is actually available to a customer for as low as 14,000-15,000 rupees also. So we're paying about 1,200 rupees a month. You get a cover for 1 crore rupees. Now imagine at a coverage of 1 crore rupees, what kind of a peace of mind does that guarantee? Because you name any illness, be it cancer, be it hypertension, be it diabetes, be it a heart attack, any of it will be adequately covered, and you can actually go to the best hospital in the country and get treated, and your health insurance will actually provide for that, for the entire cost amount. So from that perspective, very, very critical to get an adequate cover and go as high as possible. So if your financials permit, go as high as and buy a 1 crore plan as well. And it's not very expensive also now, as I was saying. So from that perspective, to Rahul, I would recommend you should go ahead and buy a 1 crore health cover.
Thank you very much, Amit Chabra, for joining me here on the show and clarifying a lot of important points around health insurance for our viewers. Well, that's all the time we have in this edition of the Policy Bazaar show. Thanks for watching. Keep watching Republic TV.